Regardless of whether you believe in the Half-Life 3 rumors or not, I think we can all agree that it's dumb fun to speculate what a future installment would be like in the series, especially after that bombshell of an ending in Half-Life Alyx, which recontextualizes everything. But I'm not going to be focusing on what gameplay or enemies the game would have, because I feel that those elements can vary way too much depending on what Valve might want to do in Half-Life 3. So we need to base it off information that we know is concrete if we want to make an accurate prediction. And I prefer sticking to something that I'm personally good at. I thought that it might be a cool idea to make a small mock soundtrack that I think the Half-Life 3 soundtrack would sound like, given the trends that have been seen throughout the music of the series. One of these pieces of information that we do know is that Mike Morasi will most likely be the main musician for Half-Life 3, given the fact that Kelly Bailey had left the company to form his own video game development studio, and Mike Morasi has also made the music for the previous installment in the series, Half-Life Alyx. There's also this clip.
And so I took those and pushed them just a little further, but used those in both the Half-Life games. Game.
If the name is unfamiliar, this guy is also the guy who made the soundtracks for the following games. Mike's music differed in Half-Life Alyx in a lot of ways compared to Kelly Bailey's music, not only stylistically, but also in the amount of time probably spent on each track, due to the sheer volume of tracks that needed to be created for the game, 72, almost doubling the amount of tracks compared to Half-Life 2's official soundtrack, which was only 43. Although Mike did consult Kelly for advice on making the music for the game, I kept all this in mind when creating the custom tracks for the mock soundtrack. The first custom track I made was called
Destroy It, whatever the cost.
Right before the ending scene of Half-Life 2 Episode 2, the Borealis was introduced as a MacGuffin that Half-Life 3 would focus around. It would be safe to assume that a future Half-Life installment would focus around it as a major plot point. That's why I made a track for finding the Borealis. Since it's a destination, we know that we will eventually get there, we just don't know how. In their own words, Valve tends to use music sparingly in Half-Life, such as important moments like set pieces.
The Half-Life series has always used music sparingly, often leaving the ambient sounds of the world to provide the audio background. But it is a tool we like to use to highlight moments where the world state has changed in some important way.
Which seeing the Borealis for the first time would count as. Based on the Half-Life 2 documentary made by Valve, Valve's plans for the Borealis was for the ship to be already occupied by the Combine with machinery covering the Borealis when Gordon gets there. So I tried to add those themes into the track. The second track I made was a combat track, of course. Those tend to be the more fan-remembered ones from the soundtracks. I decided to add samples in this track because Kelly Bailey heavily used sample packs in his songs to generate a specific atmosphere. Mike Morasi sometimes emulates this. I chose Methods of Mayhem Industrial Toolkit for this track. I am not exactly sure what combat encounters would happen, but we do know that combat taking place on the Borealis likely will not happen because Valve had found that combat on an icebreaker was claustrophobic and not ideal for gunplay.
There was a bunch of work put into it. We even went on an icebreaker ship to get reference. As soon as we started to put it together, we realized how unbelievably tight the space was, and you could never make any kind of really interesting combat in it, and so it just withered on the vine right there.
I believe that on the way to the Borealis, there will be at the very least some encounter with the Combine, like with Synths or something along those lines. There were synths that I tried to replicate from the Half-Life Alyx soundtrack, and even used this weird intro stinger that began in most songs. Although, it's just a sample taken from the Half-Life Alyx soundtrack. Those were all the custom tracks that I made. and obviously there will be much more in the final game, but right now I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to make any more. Those songs already took a lot of effort out of me to research and make. If I had time, I would make a track for the G-Man, because according to the developer commentary towards the end of Half-Life Alyx, there was an audio motif related to the G-Man used in the vault.
And this piece, to accompany the reality-bending bursts caused and swayed by the G-Man's increasing reach. Within the vault, we repeat these motifs to reinforce the Vortigaunt energy mechanic that the player is ultimately able to use as a weapon against the Combine, short circuit to release the prisoner, save Eli, and complete the game.
But that doesn't mean the video's over yet, because I saved this for last, since it's the least unique aspect of this video, but it's still interesting. Numerous songs have been reused in the Half-Life series, but just renamed in the soundtracks. For example, the tracks that get reused tend to be ambient tracks, with the exception of Diabolical Adrenaline Guitar, reused in Half-Life 2's helicopter chase. There are 3 tracks that have appeared in every Half-Life game excluding the episodes. There's this, this, and this. This is also less concrete, but since Gordon's suit model is shown as being severely damaged in Half-Life Alyx, in Half-Life 3, he might get a new suit, and if that happens, of course, Hazardous Environment would play, which is Valve's theme and plays every time Gordon gets into a new suit, so I think that would happen, maybe. I also have my own personal theory that this song, Our Resurrected Teleport, would reappear again because it has a similar vibe to those reused tracks that I've mentioned. If you want to listen to the whole track list, it's in the description in this playlist I made, and it includes my custom tracks that are in unlisted videos in the playlist. Just keep in mind, this will not be definitively what the Half-Life 3 soundtrack will sound like. It is what I think it will sound like. And there could be things that I'm wrong about, and so be it. Well, with that being said, I am currently working on a larger video which I made while I made this video, so stay tuned for that. Besides that, if you have enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to help out the channel and the algorithm. If you want to support me more directly, my Patreon link is in my channel bio. See ya.
Russ, do you think a head crack could turn a gorilla into a zombie?
Zen Gorilla.